Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're back with another episode of Attack on Titan, episode 15 of season 3. The last episode the assault has finally begun, right? With Armin's help, the scouts were able to discover the Titans hiding within the walls, waiting to ambush them, and it's become somewhat a battle of the wits now between Erwin and the Beast Titan. Each of them seem to have some secret weapon up their sleeves, which they feel is going to bring them out victorious, in this battle. And he called Reiner's bluff, and basically caught him in a trap. So he's facing off against Eren, and Eren finally got his rematch with Reiner here. And if you remember the last time they fought, it didn't exactly go too great for him. He was captured. He did, for the most part, hold his own in that last fight, when at the very least when he started to remember his training, right, and he was able to implement that in his Titan form, realizing that he can't just use brute force against Reiner because Reiner is the stronger of the two, so he started to rely more on grapple attacks and throws and stuff like that. And now we see here with this rematch, he's finally thinking through his attacks and not just rushing in head first. And I've maintained before, at the very beginning, when I started watching Attack on Titan, that I've been waiting for Eren to become a character in his own right, before, and I've been told by manga readers that he does eventually become that character. I've just not seen it yet, and I'm waiting to see it happen, and I see it happening here too. I would want to see that same drive in his in his human form. I want to see him be a competent scout, not just in his Titan form, right? So that remains to be seen, but at the very least here, I'm seeing growth in terms of him thinking through his attacks, not just rushing in, even to the point of predicting some of Reiner's attacks. So he's done a brilliant job here, using hardening his fists to combat Reiner's armor, which seems to be very effective as well. We got introduced to this new weapons that they've developed, the Thunder Spears, in order to pierce Titan armor. They didn't know if it would work. It seems to be successful. They got in a few attacks on Reiner, took out his eyes, and they were at the end they were about to deliver the final blow, but I don't believe it's going to go as planned. He seems to have something, a secret weapon of his own somehow. And we still haven't seen Bertholdt as yet, so I imagine that may very well be what he's been hiding, right? They only discovered Reiner hiding in the walls, and the Beast Titan on the outskirts, commanding the other mindless Titans, but we haven't seen Bertholdt, so I believe that may be what he's hiding. I don't know where. Who knows? Maybe somehow he has Bertholdt somewhere on his body, or hiding somewhere in his mouth. It could be anywhere, we don't know, right? But I mean, while the Thunder Spear seems to be effective against him, I don't imagine it would be very useful against Bertholdt, because it has a pretty short range in terms of them detonating it, unless you're doing a suicide kill or something, right? So you hit the target, but then you have to detonate it while you're within range, and then get out of there before you get caught up in the explosion. So it's a double-edged sword there. The risk of you getting injured is very high, and it wouldn't be very effective against Reiner, because you would have to get close to him, not Reiner, Bertholdt, because you would have to get close to him, and with the in his Titan form, the steam coming from him makes it very difficult for persons to get close, and they've not been able to. I can only imagine that maybe they've devised some other weapon to deal with the Colossal Titan, separate from Reiner and his armor. Alright, so very excited to get started. Let's check it out. I do wonder if maybe Eren has learned to harden his body similar to what he's done with his fists.
エレンが食われるかもしれない。もしそうなれば何もわからないままだ。ああ、いざとなったら俺の巨人で何とかするしかなさそうだ。僕見つけたんだ。おい、二人とも一体何の話をしているんだ。
Oh, another one recognizes them.
マルコ、今の話は 冗談だ。
Guess I don't really want to kill him.
エレンは巨人に変身したことになる。つまりどこかに人の姿をした敵の巨人がいるってことだ。それは
Yeah, it a flashback.
何？助けてくれ。
Yeah, she's not there to help
どういう
you.
こと？ライナーがおかしいんだ。助け。
Right? She seems out of character though.
巨人だ。こっちに来る。
アリ、マルコの立体起動装置を外せ。ポニーを命張って助けてたよな。なぜあそこでそんな危険を冒した？この悪の民族に情が移っちまったからか。
This evil
違う
race.
って。
So why did they hate this other civilization so much?
やめろ。
戦士だ。兄、よくやった。
I guess that's just a facade that they put on.
ライナー、どうする？
まだだ。やるなら集まってからだ。
話し合ってないじゃないか。
But I don't know, even Annie seemed a bit different here than what she is normally. It's like they have this warrior face in one, you know. This is when Annie was captured.
しかし、正体がバレていることは確かなんです。いくら兄でも戦士に譲ってもらう。
So they seem to have this totally completely different culture where the strong gets to make all the decisions.
座標を奪還終わりにしたいんだよ。俺たちで。
わかりました。兄のことは一旦頭から話します。終わらせましょう。
ベルトルト。
Name is Zeke.
勇敢なる戦士たちをここで決着をつけ、我々の使命を果たそうじゃないか。
So this is before the ambush started. So right, so Bertholdt is actually there, hiding
散々言っ
somewhere.
てきたことだが、俺とはこれから離れてる。本当は誰よりも高い能力を持っているはずなのに、肝心なところは人任せだ。正直今まで頼りにならなかったぜ。
Giving his armor abilities to someone else. So it brings back the question of how exactly is it, how exactly are the Titan's abilities being to drink another serum of some sort, similar to what Eren is doing, but his armor seems different from just a crystallized form. In fact, can their abilities come out? So Bertholdt is. Alright, so we're back in prime time now. Let's celebrate too soon. He's not dead, guys. I should know better by now. Are they seriously crying out? This guy murdered several of it. Because they must know that they know the Titans have some ridiculous regenerative abilities. They're not even going to ensure that he's dead. I don't think he's dead. Nope. Oh, he's in trouble that time. He's gonna throw him over the wall and then transform. Ah. Thanks for help. Alright. Shit.
あれは避けられない。
地面との距離、今だ。まず
Wait, if we were able to muster enough energy to do that.
ライナ
生きてる。
Yeah, of course he's alive.
全身の神経網に意識を移すことに成功したのか。なあ、ライナー。一つ 頼みがある。少しだけ体終わらせてくる。
何にせよ我々の作戦目的は以下の通り。リヴァイ班はアルミン指揮のもとエレンを守れ。その他の者は全員で目標2体を仕留めろ。
I don't know, these characters. At this point, I'm not expecting this from. I mean, come on. After everything that you guys have been through with these guys, the amount of people that they have actually killed, and you really think that this is good. You guys need to fight with the same goddamn determination that these guys are. It worked last time, not this time.
話を出せばまた僕が取り乱すと思ったか。
Not gonna work again.
おとなしくて気の弱いベルトルトなら言いくるめて隙をつけ
You
る
need
と
to
思
give
った
up
の
on
か。
trying to save the.
くそ、アルミン、なんで。
分かってるんだ。ただの時間稼ぎだろう。僕の周りを兵士で囲い。
そこまで見えていてなんで話に乗ったの。
確認したかった。君たちを大丈夫みたいだ。うん。君たちは大切な仲間だし、
Yeah,
ちゃ
he
んと
doesn't
殺
give a
そうと
shit
思っ
about
て
you guys anymore. You guys need to wake that.
死ななきゃいけない。
They're just soldiers on a mission. He can change at any moment, so you guys need to kind of keep your distance. But why hasn't he changed?
それがベルトルトにその気はないらしい。
To regenerate though.
彼には何か考えがあるように見えた。というか、あれが本当にベルトルト。
早くとどめよ。
He's on his back.
仰向けになってる。
And you guys have to get to the armor as he's killing.
とどめが。だって世界は
He's getting away from Reiner.
こんなにも残酷じゃないか。
飛び上がったぞ。まさか。
しかしライナーすぐ近く。
There's a bomb going off.
お前ら生きてる。大丈夫。ハンジャンは
ベルトルトの近くにいた。
まさか。生き残ったのは俺たち。おい。
I reckon the place anybody who's hiding is
どうする。
このまま持て。
絶対団長らと合流し指示を仰ごう。超大型巨人は当初の作戦通りに消耗戦で対応する。
いや待て。この巨人と挟み撃ちにされちまう。
それじゃベルトルトはここで倒さなくちゃいけないの。今ここにいる僕たちだけ。指示を早せんと。
Don't rush in now when you guys should have been rushing to do what you needed to do earlier. But you're sitting there crying.
獣の巨人。すべての作戦通りか。
Alright, so there we have it, episode 15. I don't know, it's an interesting episode because I don't know, I just found it strange that at this point they had Reiner on the ground. They managed to attack him to the point where he was too weak to move, but they're still hesitant to actually finish. And I understand that, okay, they were with him training, but I think the training was only, it was only for about a year or so. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. So it's not as though they're like childhood friends who knew each other for years and grew up together, right? Yes, you were friends with this guy, but then you realize that all of that was just pretense. Despite what they said, it was just pretense, right? Because you can't be okay with best buddies, but I'm going to kill you all here right now. And that's not discounting that's not even counting the other people that that both Reiner and Bertholdt have killed, including Eren's mom, which they are directly responsible for, and a lot of the others' parents, right? So for them to at this point still be hesitating, and I know they've given Reiner a chance to regenerate. I know they probably don't know about his ability to move his subconscious to the rest of his body from his brain, but they still had an opportunity to finish him off right then and there, and they missed it because they're either celebrating or crying because they refuse to kill him. At this point, it just seems a bit odd for that to be the reason for them not finishing him off, right? Because it has happened before. So they already had that moment where they're like, oh my god, it's Reiner and Bertholdt. And then this season it was like, okay, we have new resolve now. We're over that, and we realize that they've been manipulating us the entire time, and we're focused. Only to backtrack on that now. So that's the only thing that was, I don't know, it just seemed odd in terms of how the characters are being written here. But outside of that, we got Bertholdt finally making his appearance. I predicted as much because again we've only been seeing Reiner since the season season part 2 of season 3 started. We've only seen Reiner in the Beast Titan. I figured Bertholdt was somewhere hiding. I thought he was in the wall, but he was actually on the outskirts with the Beast Titan hiding on top of that weird Titan who can apparently talk. I thought it was some manless Titan, but it seemed to be just another Titan similar to them, but I mean just not as powerful. And that raised a few questions, about what I'd said in my previous video about how exactly are the Titans' appearance and their abilities determined, right? I initially, from watching season 1 to now, we've always been under the assumption that it's just a result, or at least that was my assumption, it's just a result of their transformation, right? Everyone transforms and has a different appearance. That is unique to them. It's not something that is added on later on, but it's now appearing as though it is in fact something in addition to them transforming, right? The war chief, as they put it, Zeke, who's the Beast Titan, threatened Reiner to say, if you fight again and you lose, I'll take your armor and give it to someone else. So that suggests that at its base form you transform into a Titan, but then they can add to that and add layers to it and give you armor. And I'm assuming at this point now that Bertholdt's the Colossal Titan is also, his form itself is also an addition from what his base has been. So what we have a serum that can make you a colossal, right, or an armored or something to that effect. So I mean that's interesting, but I mean we still don't know a whole lot about it, and I would want them to do that later on. Hopefully not take too long with it, not that you're revealing so much, but we still have more questions than answers. So I would want to know how exactly the Titan abilities work and how their appearance work. We've been getting bits and pieces, but no real explanation as to how that happens. So we now know the Beast Titan's name, Zeke. Still don't know much about him, but based on how he keeps referring to the race inside this wall as evil, I'm not sure why, right? I theorized before that there are two civilizations separate from each other. But I always assumed that they never really had any exposure to the other, right? That was my assumption. They didn't have any exposure to the other. But if they're calling them evil, one would assume that they have crossed paths at some point, maybe in the past, and maybe that's what the king has, tried to keep hidden. Maybe they did something atrocious before, or maybe they banned these people from within these walls and they formed some other civilization elsewhere. Because there seems to be built upon, not so much a monarchy as it is here, but more so on the strongest leads us type of thing. He had to fight Reiner to get him to go along with his plan. So it seemed as though and Reiner kept saying in the past that okay, we're warriors, right? So it seems to be they go by they're governed by a different set of rules where okay, I'm the strongest. If I beat you, you can challenge me, but if I beat you, then you have to do whatever it is that I say you must do, right? And it'll be interesting to see what this other civilization looks like, or if it's a wall, wall civilization similar to what we have here, or if it's something totally different, and they're maybe forced to live out in the open or something to that effect. Right, so again, a lot of questions raised, and definitely interested to see a bit more background on Zeke as to where he's from, why, we still don't know why they're doing what they're doing, save for just recovering the coordinate, but to what extent though, right? I don't know, to launch an attack on these guys, or is it something totally different? We just don't know. So I mean, Reiner is recovering now because of that blunder that they made before, and Bertholdt, I mean, despite saying that he doesn't care, he obviously still does care, because he made sure that he got a safe distance away from Reiner before transforming, so he wouldn't kill him, I guess. Although, well, I'm still not see how he would have though. He's still encased in the armor, so I don't think his transforming would have killed him. Because I mean, they have transformed in close proximity of each other before. When they first found out about these two on the wall, they transformed at the same time, right? So it's I don't know, leaves some room for question there as to why that transformation would now suddenly kill him. So he made sure to get a safe distance away from Reiner so as to not harm him. He wants him to believe that he doesn't care about Annie, but again, I doubt that very much. But I think he just knows that he knows the kind of person that Armin is now, so he knows that he's bluffing. But it certainly does lend itself to, I believe we will see Annie back in the picture again sometime. I don't know whether they will try to rescue her, maybe not, or she will be released or escaped. I think we'll see her sometime soon. But Armin tried to get him unsettled by mentioning her name again, but it didn't work. And he says, Mikasa said, this Reiner seems to be noticeably different from the Reiner that they knew, and that's something that the series has been hinting at for some time now. First with Reiner. When he captured Eren, and they retreated to the forest, and he almost didn't know what exactly had happened or how they got to that point. Right? It was as if he had two separate personalities, one who is the warrior and another that is the person who has been living with them for the duration of their training as scouts. So they're definitely hinting at dual personalities, and we've seen it with Reiner, but we've not seen it with Bertholdt before. We're seeing it with him now, here, where he's no longer that timid guy that they knew, and he held his own against Mikasa for the most part, right? Which is again somewhat uncharacteristic of Bertholdt, but he seems to be much more capable than he has been leading on, or at the very least, that personality is much more capable than the one that they have known up to this point. So again, multiple personalities. I mean, it's an interesting direction to go. I don't know. I guess trauma could be something that could lead to it happening. At the very least, I thought that's what happened the last time. The first time when they mentioned it with Reiner, I thought that was the case. Okay, he was so traumatized, to the point where he created a separate personality to deal with that trauma. But that was again from the perspective of Bertholdt, because Bertholdt seemed to be surprised by it almost, right? But now he seems to be demonstrating the same traits that Reiner demonstrated back then. So that seems to be the case. I don't know if everyone from that civilization is like that, or just these guys, because they claim to be doing what they're doing to ensure that no one from their village has to go through what they've been through. So I don't know if these three warriors are selected or 4 warriors. They're selected, and they're put through whatever trials they're going through, and transformations, and perhaps not everyone there is able to change into a titan. These few were selected for that purpose. But again, we don't know what the bigger picture is. You know, I've seen people theorize about whether or not this is some post-apocalyptic thing where there are different civilizations fighting for freedom or for some specific goal, and the first civilization to get to that goalpost wins. You know, something to that effect. Don't know whether or not that there's any truth in that, but there are a lot of theories going around as to what exactly the end game is, how this world came to be, and why are things the way they are, because we don't have a lot of answers by way of that. So I mean, I haven't theorized that far. I'm still at, you know, I just believe that there are two separate civilizations, and whatever, I do believe that something did happen in the past where they had to split up and separate themselves into different civilizations, which means there may be more than just the two. It could just be remnants of the Ackerman family who were disbanded because they couldn't be controlled by the king, and they went off and formed their own civilization, along with the other families, because I believe it was mentioned, Kenny mentioned that there were more than one. So it may just be that there are different, you know, these are the guys who wouldn't bow to the king, and they left, took their families and their people, and went off to form their own civilization. And at least that's my theory. That's a theory I'm sticking with for now. And so now they want revenge for maybe other family members who were killed, and that is their agenda. That is my theory so far, right? That is my theory. So they're in a bit of a pickle now. Erwin's plans have pretty much gone out the window. They now have the Colossal Titan to deal with. They're afraid of drawing them back to the wall and leaving their allies in a pincer attack, so they don't know what to do. Armin is now in charge because Hanji is missing. I don't think she's dead. I would hate for them to kill Hanji off screen like that. So I think she's still alive. If they were smart, they would have hidden behind the armored titan since they were nearby. So now they have to face the Colossal Titan with no way of defeating him. Honestly, I would hope that they've thought of something. But I mean, as I said before, the Thunder Spears wouldn't work on him because of the steam, and they wouldn't be able to get close enough to use it. So I don't know. I don't know how they plan on beating him. They said they have to face him here and now, and they have to stop him here. All I know is if they wait too long and they wait for the armor titan to regenerate enough, they are screwed. Right? So they sure as hell better do what they should have done before and just have someone go over there and kill him. Although he's now rolled over on his back, so I mean, I'm sure there are other people with Thunder Spears. So send a small team to get rid of him, and the others go after the Colossal Titan, because you can't deal with Colossal Titan on his own, but you definitely cannot deal with him and the Armored Titan at the same time. They messed that up completely, right? So it's now in either court, Erwin or the Beast Titan. Beast Titan has come out on top this episode. Erwin had it last episode. It's like, okay, his plans were going smoothly. They managed to lure Reiner into a trap, injure him. But now the Beast Titan is like, okay, it's my turn, and he has them. I don't know what they're gonna do at this point. All right, thanks guys. Be sure to post down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. There's a lot to talk about. Be sure to hit like or subscribe, and I will see you guys for the next one.